Hello. How all right? How are you getting on? Are you well? Are you well? You can speak to me legally. You can talk to me if you like. You have to tell me if you're all right. You well? Well, I'm going to interrupt you to say I'm in my fucking car again. That's right. I'm recording live from my car. We couldn't get the young flat into crash, and it really fucked up my day, and my life is a mess. I couldn't find the time, so I'm in the car not drinking wine. I'm in my fucking car again. In the car, throws your whole life out of whack when someone surprises you and says you actually have to be the parent during the day. I'm like, I do that on Saturdays. What's going on? This is crazy. So, anyway, no, I love it. I do love it. But, what am I going to tell? I'm going to tell you. Sorry, I was too busy staring into my son's beautiful blue eyes, his big eyelashes. He looks like a fucking cartoon cow, right? And not the laughing cow. I'm not attracted to him in that way. But like a big Daisy the cow. You know the kind of cow, kind of like Daisy Duck. My young fella looks like Daisy Duck. Which you probably remember. I don't fancy. What am I talking about? Anyway, look, how are you doing? You well? How's your summer been treating you? Huh? Get a few little, you get these little sun-kissed little freckles. I wouldn't mind giving them a little kiss. You wouldn't mind giving your little son a kiss. All right, is that weird? Is that corny? What, would be cancelled for offering to give another man a kiss on his forehead because it's with sun-kissed? Kiss it better? This is too close to me talking about in earnest about me loving my son, and now I'm going to move on, and I'll come back to being a creepy weirdo in a minute. But, I'm in the car. That's the height. Brought the bottles out. Was doing the bottles. I told my wife, hey, baby, don't worry. Yeah, I'll be back later. I'm doing the bottles. Little does she know the bottles are the name of the two broads I've been seeing on the side. They're the two bottle sisters. These two girls, oh, my God, they got a big, long fucking neck. And the labels these guys have on. Come on. And the labels these broads to be having around their tummies. Oh, come on. And the caps they got on their heads. Look, I wouldn't, I tell you, I would never make love to a bottle, right? I feel like I'm going into pure material here, but I don't have anything prepared. No, have you ever peed in a bottle? Pepsi Wide Mouth, who are you asking? I think Kevin McGahern made that joke. I think he made that joke. But a wide mouth bottle. Anyway, someone did. Anyway, when you pee into a bottle, it's happened once. It peed out all of, not much to be fair, of the air out of the bottle, and give a little not a nice suction on my bottle, and then guess what? I got a bottle dangling from between my legs, yeah, because that's what happens when you pee directly into a bottle. That's why you have to have a little courtesy, little space between your schlong and the wide neck of the bottle, more like a kind of a Dulux bucket, more my kind of thing. Obscenely wide. Oh, God. Look, I got it chode, guys. No, but what am I doing? What was I saying I was doing? Yeah, I'm in the car. What, have I moved on for something else? Yeah, peeing in a bottle. Gorgeous cows. Whatever. No, I'm, yeah, that's all I have to say. No, I'm out here. I'm outside the pub. Look like I'm cruising for an absolute bruising. And yeah, I didn't, listen, live. I am in the process of shaping up the podcast. I always feel, what do I feel like when I give an update on the podcast? I feel like I'm talking to my assistant principal, and I've lost my shorts for the day. You like all this. You love it. You love the chaos, right? So I'm not here pandering to you, right? Panda eyes. Remember that? It was like a Nivea thing for your eyes. Do you want to do away with panda eyes? Panda eyes? Who says that? Yeah, I pander to the eyes of my son because he's absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, no, look, the update is I'm in the process of getting it, I said this all the time, more professionally done. It's not going to take away the spontaneity or the chaos or me recording these in my fucking car again, but it will mean that there'll be more topics and it'll be less seat of my pants kind of stuff, okay? Speaking of seat of my pants, oh my God, oh Shimon. I almost turned into Michael Jackson going tee when I was watching the Liverpool game, man. Oh my God. Win. And then on the other one with Villa and Man City, man. Well, look, fair fucks to Man City. See, this is how much of a fair weather Liverpool fan. They turned it around. You thought they were going to lose, and they got 3 goals in 20 minutes. Like, I'm not blind. I'm not fucking blind to that being an achievement. Liverpool what you fucking saying? That's what they're saying to me now. But whatever, I move on fairly quick. I'm Teflon, baby. I'm Teflon. I really wanted them to win, and hopefully we win against the Real Madrids. And Hong. We're going, big sporting weekend. Big sporting weekend. The wife wants to see the Leinster match. I said, if I wanted to see fucking hang on. If I wanted to see Leinster go to lose, we should have watched last week's game. I make that joke every week that my wife's watching rugby. I'm like, I wonder if they're going to win or they're going to lose. It doesn't really make sense. But you shouldn't be having a team called lose. And then the verb of it, the verb too, so big sporting weekend in the cancelled household. Tony cancelled. Hold me closer, Tony's cancelled. I thought of a good song. What was the song I was singing today? Yeah. Here's one for you, right? I was singing this because my jeans. Now I haven't lost weight. These jeans are actually now so tight that they're sliding down my arse because I have a famously sloped hoop, and they were sloping down my arse. Right, I don't really have much of a rounded out bottom of my bottom. Right, so anyway, so they were sliding down because they're now too tight. Right, and I was singing because I was like, it reminds me of when I used to wear like jeans as a rocker, big baggy jeans. So I was singing this. My arse is low. My arse is so low as only a rocker's arse can know. There's a chorus as well. Only a rocker. Only a rocker. As only a rocker's arse in jeans. So, is that any good? Was it worth me doing the extra bit? Reminds me of that time. I still remember. My dad and my stepmom were talking about that song, that Katya. No, the Mucha. What was her name? Katya Mucha? You're one from the Sugar Babies. She had that song, it ain't over till it's over. She had like a version of that. And they were like, oh, I wonder what's the sound. I've already mentioned this in the podcast maybe like 3 years ago. But then my stepmom was like, oh, I wonder what's the sample of that song. And I was like, oh, I think it's that Lenny Kravitz song. Many tears I cry, so much pain inside. And I'm still singing, baby, it ain't over till it's over. And I sang too much of it, And they're like, and then they got it after the first bit of the song, I remember it could have been Lenny Kravitz, but it went full falsetto when I was singing for like 3 minutes. No, I felt like 3 minutes, but 30 seconds. Too long. Too loose. So anyway, listen. Look, listen, live. I've asked you, thank God for you, put the feelers out, guys. And I asked you guys to send me in some questions, some topics. Got one in here off the top of the dome. Luncheon roll. Luncheon roll, says DayOC11. Funny you say this one now. I am a big fan of mortadella. Mortadella is mechanically recovered meat mashed into a paste. And, it's kind of like Posh Billy Roll, right? And so I thought that if you went... I went into Aldi, right? We had a young fella's birthday there, right? We had a young fella's birthday in the park, and we got all the stuff in Aldi because my very, very good friend, best friend, Amy Huberman, gave me an Aldi gift card for doing her podcast, right? Because we're very good, very close friends. Her and Brian. Actually, I wonder if I might invite him to the match. He might have plans, but I might invite him to see if he wants to see the match with Leinster and whoever. They're not playing not Toulouse. I might ask him actually who's playing. Amy, will you ask your fella who's playing, actually? My best friend. No, he's my best friend. Brian O'Driscoll. He's my best personal friend. Anyway, he no, he didn't do it. So I went to Aldi to get all the grub because I thought I'll be really smart about this and I'll go into Aldi to get all the grub. Right. Still ended up spending 70 quid in Mr. Price, which is another fucking story. Oh, yeah. You go into Mr. Price, you think it's the pound shop. Let me tell you, hey, reader, it wasn't. I went to Mr. Price thinking it was the pound shop just because you have that Mr. Skin looking fucker outside. You know the guy? Your man who looks like he's on some like chilled out Ibiza anthems. Your man outside Mr. Price. You know your man? You expect him to be on some compilation with that song. In this morning, I can sing in the silence. You know. Anyway, maybe you don't get what I'm talking about. Impossible. That's not very possible. Anyway, I went to I went to Aldi. And I normally shop in Lidl, if you must know. And I also do the voice. Look, you might have seen me as the voice of the Dublin slice pan from the Lidl lads. You know, a little bit of Tony in your hands. That's something I offered them to put at the end of it, but they were like they couldn't get the fucking cowards couldn't get the right Mambo number 5. I said, can you just put in, like, I know I'm doing this kind of like I know I'm doing this. What's his name? Ronnie Drew bit, right? How you fucking a bit of slice pan and I'm a bit of bread, right? And whatever shit I'm doing, right? And I said, and look, here's another one. You can have this one for free. I said, how about this? And how about I throw in a little bit of Tony in your eyes? And the fucking cowards were like, I don't know if the estate of Lou Beg is apparently fucking highly litigious. And they said to me, no, what was I saying? So I was in Aldi. I don't normally go to Aldi. I normally go to Lidl. And as I told you, every time I go in there, I'm putting something in the trolley. And I'm saying to Derry, a little bit of luncheon meat in the trolley. A little bit of bread in it as well. A little bit of orange juice, too much sugar. We don't drink a lot of orange juice since I saw how much sugar was in it. Anyway, I was in Aldi. Anyway, shite middle section, I have to say. Well, not shite. It just didn't have exactly what I was looking for, which was 2 massive shells. You know, they have the shells, kids' shells. You know, and not for bras like Ariel, get your mind out of the gutter. I'm talking about shells that you put like the sand in one side and the water in the other. Because we were at another birthday party. Shout out to my man Rowan, right? We were at his birthday party and he had the shell for his birthday, right? So we were looking for that, and I was looking for it in Aldi, and they didn't have it, right? Very tempted. I was very tempted to buy a egg-shaped chair for an outdoor space, which we don't have. But again, I had money to burn with this voucher in my pocket. Did I say how much it was? I hope I didn't. I really hope I didn't say how much the voucher was for. Anyway, so I was in there and I saw there was some luncheon roll, right? Luncheon roll, right? Luncheon meat. And what's that from? What's that? I made it up. See? Sometimes I'm not quoting movies. Sometimes I'm just doing bits. Sometimes I'm doing bits that sound so good they should be in a movie. There should be a German word for doing a bit so good that people think, what's that from? And you're like, no, I made it up. The smugness that comes from making up a bit. Anyway, so I saw some luncheon meat, right? Again, it's not from man. There's no characters ever said that. There's no Jim Henson character. No one said that in the fucking Labyrinth or anything like that. Anyway, I got the luncheon roll. Turns out there is a difference between luncheon roll, Billy roll, and mortadella. So there you are. That's what I found out. I found out it wasn't very good, but there was loads of it, and I couldn't stop eating it, Carla. I couldn't stop fucking eating it. That's an impression of someone talking to my mum there. Okay. Let's see. Decaying with the boys. Scaldy festival stories, perchance, says decaying with the boys. Drank petrol once. Wouldn't recommend it. Our first festival, we went to Oxygen, and we were on the way down. Cousin Omar drives a car. Maybe you heard of it. 4 wheels. He's always been the youngest, biggest swinging dick of the crew, right? Sort of lad. Now, of course, he's my mam's, nephew. So, he wouldn't be like flirting with my mum or anything like that. But he'd be the sort of come in like 17, 18, swinging the car keys, being like, would you fucking stop, Carla? Fucking hell, Jesus Christ, there's a young fella there. Like, there's a young fella there, he might say. Whatever he might say. I don't know. But he's coming in with a different energy. He's viewed like a man. It's almost like he's come in and he's like, this is a standing man, right? They might say about him. And anyway, so he was driving down. We found out via text message, as was the style at the time, that there was no bottles allowed in a festival. We had never heard the like. It was only cans. Because apparently bottles hurt people even when they're empty and cans don't. So on the way down, we were like, fuck, what are we going to do? I said, look, because I sometimes pull rank as the leader, even though I have the stupidest ideas. And I said, oh, here's the rain. Oh, here we fucking go. Well, look, consider this a bit of an ASMR. As in, shit, man, it's raining. Shouldn't be rain sound. Anyway, so I pulled rank as the dumbest, and I'm about 3 hours older than him, right? So I said, hey, what we need to do is we need to go to a petrol station, and we need to get one of those gas canisters, right? And while we're filling up, because we have to get petrol anyway, we'll get a couple of the gas canisters, and we'll pour all of the beer into the gas canisters, and we'll just drink out of fucking gas canisters the whole time we're there. I mean, obviously, it's a big spout in it. It's going to go flat. Like now. It's going to go flat like now. So they had one free one, and I was like, they had one that was like, there, and they had one kind of above the till. And there was one in the box and one above the till. So I gave Omar the one in the box, right? And I was like, all right, gives the one there above the till. And she's like, you sure? And I was like, you'd be grand. Right? So then we got down there, we filled everything up, and we went in, and we were going through the check or whatever, and they were like, what the fuck are you doing with these gas canisters? Are you insane? And I was like, nah, see, there's where we were wrong. We poured our beer in there. And we're like, what? Why? Like, just disappointed with us. And I said, because I had a brilliant idea. Because you fucking Clims wouldn't let glass bottles in. Of course I was going to bring all 24 of them home. I'm 20. Of course I was going to do that. As well as my tent and not burn it, right? We didn't burn it. I did see that happening. Anyway, so we had these gas canisters, and they were like, but it smells like petrol. And I'm like, well, where do you think we bought them? Dude, where do you think we bought them, right? And then she goes, all right, we'll open it. And then as I'm unscrewing the top, it just goes, poo, poo. The lid just flies off, like, poo, into the sky. Couldn't find it again. And I was like, that's weird. And she's like, that smells exactly like gas. And I'm like, baby, hey, don't you worry about that. Look, I'm going to prove to you right now it's not gas. And I drank it. And I realized there was gas in there. Was still gas. Gas? Who the fuck am I talking about? Petrol. There was petrol in it, right? Gas canisters. You don't say petrol canisters. That's where it confused me. I'm not American. Anyway, so I drank petrol. And every time I burped, I was burping petrol. And every time I lit up a cigarette, lads were like, you're going to blow up. And I'm like, well, I guess I had a good time. Maybe I can singe off this awful Ronnie that I'm trying to grow. I remember pictures of it. It was an awful Ronnie. Awful thing. So that was maybe one of the scaldiest. This was scaldiest that I'm willing to tell you. Anyway, what else did it do? Something mad. I mean, there was just mad, there was mad things. There was mad times. There was mad times at festivals. Anyway, Theo Cole says, do you ever play Pogs? Brother, I invented Pogs. Well, no, and I'm not very good at Pogs. And then everyone was like, hey, we're playing Slammers only. Slammers only. We're playing Slammers. I'm like, I don't want to play Slammers. Actually, Slammers expensive, right? I'm actually more into the collecting Pogs. I would get into a hobby, right? And then I would try and figure out how I'm not fully into the way everyone else is viewing the hobby. So like rollerblading, I couldn't do that trick that you kind of stand sideways. You stand sideways like Charlie Chaplin, people go around in circles, right? I couldn't do that. So I decided, you know what? I actually use rollerblades just for transport. So I actually use them just for transport. That's what I used to tell people. Actually, I find the tricks a little bit passé, right? I actually do just for transport, right? And then similarly, Pogs, I was like, I actually just collect Pogs because I was shy of Pogs. I would always try and flip them like tiddlywinks, little tiddlywinks. Chinese checkers, is that what it's called? Is that the same game? Tiddlywinks, right? I try and get a little clip underneath, and they were like, you can't do that! No tiddlywinks, right? Right. So I was not very good, but I tell you, my Auntie Colette, my ma's friend Colette, weirdly we don't call her Auntie Colette, but she's always my ma's very good friend Colette. She went to Florida, okay? She went to America, maybe you heard of it, in 1996, okay? And she came back from Disneyland which was such a big present for us, right? I'm getting no one anything ever. I'm an asshole, right? I've never had more stuff delivered to my fucking house, and I'm like a fucking Grinch schmaug. I need to be getting better gifts for people, right? Anyway, she got us these two Apollo 13 rockets, because Apollo 13 was in the cinema, right? And it was those of NASA Pogs, and all the Pogs fit into the actual... People had their little tubes, right? Me and my brother had these 2 Apollo 13 tubes with all the pogs in there. So pogs, maybe you heard of them, all right? And then you had the classic pogs, the hairy fucker, the big stinky caveman looking guy, right? He was on them as well. I don't remember any of the actual good pogs. I think of all the kind of things that we were into. Weirdly, Premier Leagues were the one that stuck for me, even though that's so off-brand for me. I mean, I've kind of weirdly positioned myself as a football fan with the footy chance, and then going to Liverpool that time Coca-Cola sent me, and then talking about it, and then talking about this all the time on the podcast. Tell you who's in that vertical now. My bloody brother, who's gone viral on TikTok. He's got 2.5 million views for his hilarious, scathing commentary of Martin Tyler. Even though he doesn't mind Martin Tyler, but he does some very good parodies of Martin Tyler, trying to deal with various things while call a match. And he's very good. Andy Catwell on TikTok. You got to check him out. Andy Can Vids on Instagram. So I'll have to have him on the pod to talk sports. Talk some sport, boost my numbers for a change. Mr. Tierno says, get a P.O. box and get people to send you random stuff. That sounds like a brilliant idea. So, guess what I'm doing? How come you won't say how fuckable I am as a cat? Says this person. What? Show me some pictures. Any pictures of you as a cat? Oh, yeah, that was ages ago. That was 2 years ago, bro. And you don't look good. That's bad girl Roro. Ronan, you don't look good as a cat. And by the way, bro, I'm into cartoon cats. That's just your face photoshopped over your cat. I'm not into it. It was 2 years ago, bro. You don't need to let these things slide. Ryan Trainer says, the weirdest place you've taken a shit. I once took a shit in... do you know the little in Stephen's Green? No, hang on. Sorry. I tell a lie. It was my greatest shame. I once took I tried to take... We were doing a scavenger hunt, and I tried to take a shit in the very small wooded area of Stephen's Green Park. Beside the statue of your man who got his head cut off, like Jebediah Springfield. I don't even know who the fucker is. I just know he had his head cut off. Beside there, but I had the stage fright, and I couldn't get the poo out. And we also wasted half an hour, because I said I could do it. Wasted half an hour of a scavenger hunt. Now, we probably should have been a bit more economic with the time, and someone else should have run off and done something while they were waiting for me to do the shit. But Omar just called it. He's like, you're not doing the shit. I'm like, I'm not doing the shit. So I couldn't shit then. So then another time, it was in my mate's gaff, and he had this kind of fire. And I've told you this before. I actually think I've been asked this question before. And I shit on a log and I put that in the fire. All right. And weirdly, didn't smell at all. So, myth busted. Does shit smell? No, when it's on fire. Maybe it does. Let's see here. Do you ever get bouts of the old imposter syndrome? Says Declan McGee. Oh, big time, man. Big time. But I've had to realize within myself that I don't know myself. In fact, I saw Justine Stafford had a great bit of advice posted in a story recently. Someone said, why don't you just wait until someone tells you you're an imposter? Which that was great advice. Just keep going until someone calls you out. Like, it's just acknowledge that you are, and then just keep getting away with it, But yeah, I never had it so bad that I would... it would stop me from doing anything, I've always been more of a chancer, and I've always known I was a chancer, and I'll chance it, I am a chancer, but I'm a stronger chancer than I am an imposter. But yeah, I get it all the time. But I think that was, great advice. Any situation, I think I'm also just like a fan of people, and so I'm always like, oh no, that's how you do it. I say that to myself like 20 times a day. When I see like Killian Sunderman put a video out, or I see Michael Fry do a live bit of musical parody, or, when I was gigging with Shane, or Peter McGann's fucking characters that he's been doing recently. I'm like, oh, that's how you do it, And because I didn't actually specify Shane's, he's just a brilliant stand-up, and I'm like, oh, that's how you actually tell a joke. You know what I mean? So, yeah, all the time. But I like just to be a bit of a blend of all the boys, I'm not looking to be the best. Apart from when it comes to the Eurovision and I lose. People asking about my opinions on the Eurovision. I did talk about it on my Patreon. I'm so sorry you missed it, but let me tell you this. I think Sweden's song was the best song of the night. I think it's the best one in the top 5 best pop choruses of the last 5 years. I established already on that Patreon episode. Really good episode. You want to check it out. That Robin's Dancing on My Own, Pillow Talk, Bad Romance by Gaga, and Sexual by Naked. Those are the 5 best choruses of the last, I think maybe even 13 years. Maybe I keep saying 15, but I think it's in the last 13 years. David Bush. No, hang on. I'm going to continue just on that. The Eurovision thing. Yeah, I thought that Romania song. Hola mi bebe, hola mi bebe, llámame, 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 llámame. I sing that to Terry all the time, even if it's just There's a bit of silence. I'm like, hola mi bebe. And I thought that was brilliant, like an actual fucking bop, and the most cutely confident performance I've ever seen on a stage was the fella. He was an adorable little fella, and he looked real shy, but he looked like, hey, I'm just doing this for the lols. It was brilliant. And what else? I also thought, I follow your man Sam Ryder. I was very surprised to see his big mouth. For the UK, I liked that tone for the UK. It was kind of a big Eurovision cap in hand, being like, "Here's something weird for you," and I like that, and I think it was well respected and well responded to. Brooke Scullion, I think, is a wonderful singer, and I think she's a wonderful performer. I just think that we don't have the capability to perform pop on a global level at the moment. Sweden and Spain with that Chanel song, Slow Mo, that was absolutely fucking incredible. They brought in a Cuban who is like a fucking Tony nominee, who's been in every live show. Like, Brooke Scullion is a good act, and she'd tear the roof off the Academy. Do you know what I mean? But on the global stage, and don't mean any disrespect for her, and don't be fucking sending this to her. Dublin's a small place, Ireland's a small place. No, she's from fucking Northern Ireland or whatever. But don't be sending this to her. I think she's great, but I actually just don't think we can perform pop that well on the global stage. And I think we need to be dipping into stuff like the trad or rap or anything that you see popping up on your updated Breath of Fresh Era playlist on Spotify. Like, we have to just think a little bit outside the box and be a bit different. If we're not going to win, can we not at least put something there, and not the gimmicky where we're taking the piss out of it like Dustin? Like, Dustin was a bad show. We can all agree that was a bad show, right? No one was really on board because you were taking the piss out of Eurovision. It was not met with any kind of like revelry, and especially having two fucking. Anyway, look. I think having something a bit classical, having something a bit traddy, having a bit of rap, having something weird and electro, and not like trying to sound like it's The Weeknd. Stop! Can everyone stop doing 80s tracks and having them sound like it's The Weeknd? Let's send like the fucking Voice. Do another Emer Quinn on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, we cannot be send, and that selection, and everyone's like, oh, that's the selection now. It'll be on the late, and everyone gets to say, I think there needs to be more, like, I'm hearing people get their songs denied for selection. I've heard that from a few people who've sent songs in, right? Listen to the Bureau de Change. Listen to Adam Shanahan's bangers that he did for me and Fanula. Don't tell me that isn't in the top 6 songs. Mine probably isn't. Fanula's is. Speaking of which, the Bureau de Change songs are available online. Go to Bureau de Change Song Contest on Bandcamp, and you can pay whatever you want, and all the money is going to Ukraine for the Scoop Foundation. In Ukraine for their work there. So please do give that. And it has a recommended price of £1, and it has a recommended price of £8 for all the songs, but you can give whatever you want, and you get all those tracks, and then you get to give to Ukraine with 100% of the proceeds going to Ukraine for Scoop. So do check out all those tracks that are up now. I'll actually put a link in the notes here. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, by the way, this podcast is sponsored by the Dubliner Irish Whiskey. They got some tasty things coming out. I can't tell you about it right now, but they have a secret new flavour that's about to be revealed, and I tell you, it blew the fucking head off me in the best way possible. It's the DLD.com. That's the Dubliner, baby. And the Dubliner were very proud sponsors of the Bureau de Change Song Contest. That's the sort of cool stuff they do as a cool radical brand. When Michael Fry and Killian Sunderman had their gig, they had it in the distillery there. Look, they're just cool. They're cool. They're cool adjacent. They're cool people, and they hang out with cool people, and they make a tasty ass whiskey. Go to thedld.com. They're also available in Dunn's, so you can go to Dunn's and now buy it straight off the shelf. And do check out their lovely establishment, their lovely distillery there in the heart of the Liberties. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I talked about too much there on the Eurovision, but that's my thoughts. Where it was. David Boucher says, I'd love to see you cover some favourite comics or stuff that you've read lately. I'm so glad you asked me this question, David Boucher, because at the moment I'm trying to get to grips with what the current situation is in Marvel Comics, like where we are now since essentially Grant Morrison's new X-Men, in about 2002, 2003. And then I just finished. Say what you will about his abuses towards women, but Joss Whedon does. It's a very good X-Men comic. His Astonishing X-Men. It's a very good comic. It's near perfect. It's got I won't. I don't want to. It's one of the best things I've read, and he's a monster. He recommended that the charisma fucking Carpenter, Cordelia from Buffy, get an abortion to save her job. He's a monster in that respect, But he does weave a good mutant yarn. But I'm trying to read that next. I'm going to be reading Avengers Disassembled. I want to kind of figure out. I haven't read House of M, which is the effects of what happens with Wanda and stuff, and which is kind of where Doctor Strange is now. People always ask my thoughts on Doctor Strange, which fucking outgrossed Batman. That just shows the power of the fucking Marvel machine. That Doctor Strange, ha ha ha! What a silly idea for a movie. The sequel to Doctor Strange, right, has outgrossed the gritty Batman that everyone's been looking for. Now, of course, Batman was released, on HBO Max, but it's going to be on Disney Plus, like Doctor Strange will be in a matter of months, I enjoyed it again. I did talk about it on my Patreon. Sorry about that. And I don't really want to do spoilers here about that, but I'm sure it'll come up again. I'll maybe do like a current state of affairs. When we get the kind of this Marvel phase out, I'll probably look at doing a kind of a phase-by-phase series at some point and talk about them. And my brother has actually done all of the Marvel movies on his podcast, What's So Great About, so you can check them out. That Astonishing X-Men is probably one of my favorite comics I've read recently. What else I've been reading? I'm reading the Star Wars. I'm reading Star Wars from the start. Well, like the latest run that takes place in between the original trilogy movies. They're really good. I've just been so out of habit with reading comics, and Marvel Unlimited has turned everything around. The original Thor run, the Walt Simonson Thor, I'd never read any Thor. It's like dense, textbooky kind of comics, which is not even that dense, but like it is crazy, the stuff that happens in the Walt Simonson Thor. You might recognize that's where like Beta Ray Bill comes into it. He's the weird kind of horse head looking Thor, and Frog Thor as well, which is probably one of the best episodes, one of the best, most interesting comics, and for a gimmick where Thor turns into a frog and then leads a fucking frog uprising against rats. It's incredible. I think they're rats. I read it a few months ago. Anyway, so Marvel Unlimited, I'm just loving on my tablet, and they're just reading comics. It's an absolute joy. And I'm so glad as well. And I know, look, I don't read a lot, right? I lose focus quite a lot. But I've actually been very good for like reading comics on my phone rather than going on like social media or like just fucking around on TikTok. TikTok is getting me down big time, boy. Well, I mean, I like looking at funny stuff on them, but some of these fucking 5-minute crafts where people are making shit and there's no part 2 to the video. Someone's like pouring a load of thumbtacks out and then pouring resin on it to make a chair, and I'm like, where's part 2? And all like, it's a lot of shite. And all these like motivational, all these motivational talks that aren't motivational. They're just playing that kind of motivational music, like this kind of thing. Like people saying shit like this. I actually watched a video with this playing, and this is what the guy was saying. When you see a girl and you know she slept the fuck around, you want a girl who's not slept with anyone. You want a girl that when you go out with your boys and they see this girl They want her, but they've never been able to get her, and you have her, and she's not been with any. Like, I saw that shit. Some fucking moron saying that shit. You know? Well, you decide that pee. People say pee comes from the bladder. I say it comes from the balls. You need to decide where your piss is coming from and whether that's inside you or outside you, dangling below your cock. You fucking shit people post. You shouldn't be allowed. You should not be allowed. But there's no... You have to hand it to this generation, right? That they have no shame. They have no cringe. They have no... And I know, hey, Taylor Swift says, look, enjoy the cringe. You will cringe. But you have to hand it to them, right? They're sucking and fucking everyone, right? They pull faces. They got little curly hair. You know? They play sports. They read comics. They do everything. They do it all. They Action Man, Sylvanian families. They do whatever the fuck they want. They act out their own soap operas on TikTok, on the movies. They cry. They got little earrings, little dangly earrings. You know? Yeah. It's mad. Anyway, back to the questions. Greatest WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 17. It's Mr. Jack Naughton. In fact, I have an entire podcast on it on my Patreon. A lot of questions about farting. I do not fart, so I don't fart at all. Peter Linehan 96 suggests, go through a list of old wives' tales and rate them from true to bollocks. Great fucking suggestion. Keen Foran says, why is your name Tony Horror? Because I like the movie Rocky Horror, and I thought that sounded similar. And ever since I had to pick a name on the emo hardcore forums, I went with Tony Horror because it was also kind of emo adjacent. I'm not a huge fan of horror films. I like the prestige horror films, like A24 ones and all that shit. Not that I've seen a lot of them. But Terry doesn't like any kind of scares. She's like, why would I welcome... I'm trying to fucking chill out here. Why would I want that in my life? So, also, I like the your man, Tony Rocky Horror, half black, half Samoan dude, who Marcellus Wallace throws out of a fourth story building for apparently touching what's the name of her? Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman's feet. And yeah, John Travolta's like, Tony Rocky Horror, you know. And I thought Tony Rocky Horror sounded like a good name, and yeah, that's what happened. Okay. Josh Gantley says, any funny crowd moments from the live shows? Well, there was that one at the Vicar Street show, the Thursday Vicar Street show, if you were at that one. Which the other one has been postponed to the 17th. It's going to be a live podcast now, I've decided. The 17th September. Tickets still available. The Thursday night Vicar Street show, someone made a joke about someone in the crowd because they had their Instagram bio written in Irish, and then when I poorly translated it back into English, it kind of sounded like the person was like a pedo. It said something like, almost like, make the best of a young, something like that. And I was like, oh, you're a pedo. I was like, is this some pedo calling card? And then everyone started chanting pedo. And like, I think I talked about this in the pod already, but like they were chanting for like 2 minutes. Like, pedo, pedo. And then that became a running joke based on if I said anything, they'd be like, pedo. And that was hard. That was hard to come back from. Well, the original chant of pedo, it was honestly, I describe it like it felt like I was on mushrooms because I felt like I don't know if I can control this. I was like totally overwhelmed. But it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Conical Flasks Man says, any experience with bidets? Don't knock it till you try it. Bum guns for life. As you might know if you've seen my live show, I am a bidet advocate. I am very much hoping to get a good jet stream for my anus. There was one I used in Japan, and oh my god, it had a little control. It almost had a camera. I actually wouldn't mind a camera, because I actually like looking at my own arsehole, right? I'm not ashamed. I have a whole podcast about that as well. Jesus Christ. Asshole shame, is that what that was called? Jesus. Anyway, so you get a little wand that you're kind of like moving a little joystick, like an Atari 2600, and you're kind of like moving it around, and that was a pure joy. So I'm all for bidets. I realize I didn't really understand it beforehand, but like you'd give it a good wash first in the toilet, and then you go for the bidet. You don't go straight over. You do not go straight over. You do not want to see anything in that bidet. You do not want to see anything in that bidet. You know. Anyway, a lot of people asking about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. See if I have any funny takes on that. I think it's fucking gas. Captain Jack Sparrow in another fucking bind, doesn't he? No, I think it's just awful that we have to see it. And it's also awful that like everyone's mind is kind of made up. They're two assholes. Like they're two assholes. They're both horrible assholes to each other. And they're both victims and they're both assholes. Shouldn't be together. And Johnny Depp's career is on the out anyway. But like of course it is. He's already said himself that he doesn't want to do any more Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he's not gonna he's never gonna make that money again. So what's and he's not doing the Harry Potter ones anymore. He even booked that one, like the second one, even after all the allegations came out. So that didn't affect his career. So like I don't like. I think he's kind of past that. He's not a has-been. He makes incredible movies. Ed Wood is his best performance ever. Made fuck all money. Like it's not about making money. Like he's a brilliant actor. Maybe he shouldn't go fucking sculling, like 10 grand bottles of wine around the gaff, But she seems like a bit of she seems pretty fucked up, and she seems like she's now kind of going back on this op-ed piece. She totally owned it. She did totally. Like it was abuse. It was abuse either way. But she did totally, align herself and publicly position herself a victim at the hands of Johnny Depp, which she probably was, but maybe not to the actual domestic and sexual way. But maybe she did. I mean, maybe she did. Again, this is not. Now it's not even about getting to the truth. It's about who can actually sling more shit at each other, and not in the fire. It wouldn't smell. So they're slinging shit, and no one's going to win, really. And it's so unfortunate now that it just seems like as well, just people have been waiting for Amber Heard to be like, it's almost like people have been waiting for a woman like Amber Heard to be like, see, we fucking told you, people seem to be just like happy that she's getting destroyed, people seem to be happy that she's looking like they're memeing her and making her out to be just this complete just liar who her entire mission was, hey, guess what? Maybe some women are fucking crazy, and there is an actual bunny boiler, and maybe we shouldn't believe all women. Like anything that you see in Amber Heard just takes more away from women. Like any kind of thing that you're trying to paint Amber Heard as is just kind of you're almost trying to be like add fuel to use that against another woman. You know what I mean? Like whether she did it or not, and whether she deserves it or not, the way people are talking about it is not going to help more women. It's going to hurt more women, I think. I mean, it is. I don't even think it will, And Johnny Depp didn't really lose much, but, like his fucking career's over. Like, it's fucking, But still a very unfortunate relationship for the two of them, And now it's just, and how just... What, one's going to be in debt of the other for 100 million or 50 million to the other? Like, just fucking leave. Just leave each other, Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the ha 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 ha. So funny. So bloody funny. Monkeypox. Hope I don't get it. Hope no one gets it. I hope it goes away. Hope people stop talking about it. Hope Netflix gets better if we're going to be locked up again, because it's not great. I only keep it for Terry so she can watch her true crime bollocks. And else. Well, how will we end this one? We'll end this one. Dirt McGirt says the rise and fall of Lucozade Orange. I tell you, I'm very surprised now Lucozade have gone for a caffeine drink. They have been caffeine adjacent. It seems like there must have been someone there the whole time that was like, no, we're not putting caffeine in it. We're not putting caffeine in it. We're not. We're not doing that. We're not. The kids drink this. It's going to be glucose, and then it's like, hey, guess what? It's the same taste now with caffeine. I don't know what happened there. I'd love to know because it seemed like they were like a last bastion of not allowing still a kind of sports isotonic drink and all that stuff, but they weren't fully going for the caffeine. Not that it was good for you. Not that any of it's good for you, but I'd love to know what happened, how they broke. It's not like they had a genius idea now just to put caffeine in, or maybe caffeine's been made more readily available as a, as a thing you can just fucking put in a drink. I don't know. Shiv Brannigan says, if you had one herb or spice to use on every meal for the rest of your life, which Ninja Turtle would you be? I've always been a Michelangelo. Even though, I am a very good leader. You should see me in a room, see me at a fucking sales pitch. You see me at a sales pitch, I'm absolutely Leonardo vibes. I'm also quite smart. So, I do machines. I'm always like rigging shit. Like if there's like a new like Amazon little stick, whatever, that you have to like load a little dodgy box onto, I could do that for the friends. I'm going to factory reset Terry's computer over the weekend. So I kind of do machines. I'm cool but rude. Like I'm cool, but also like sometimes I'd be like, give me a break, say shit like that. But I do also love pizza, and I'm like, oh, dude. I'm kind of a mix of all of them, really. So, I'd have a black band, and I'd be as cool as Raphael, love to party like Michelangelo, smart like Donnie, and a leader like Leo. Callum Feeney says, early stages of doing creative stuff, working for free, etc., finding that balance. Not a question. Where's the question mark? Or where's the question, Callum? No, I am early. So what is it? What is it like? I desperately wanted to be a creative. Don't ask me what I'm doing. A creative. I work in media, right? I just wanted to be a creative. And the weird thing is with being creative, right? Is I found this out in a music class, right? I found this out in music, in IADT. Shout out Michael Murphy, right? He was teaching about music, and he was just going through bands that led on to other bands. I think he started with like a reggae or something, Bob Marley, and then just bands that just stole, like just copied the style, And a very interesting website that I always loved was allmusic.com, and it would kind of it was kind of like Wikipedia for music, and it would have all the albums and big long reviews and everything forever. But on every artist, it would list like, the acts that they were, influenced by, and then who they eventually then influenced. And it's always just fascinating to see. Like, you listen to these, like, oh, that does sound exactly like that band, like you see that scene in High Fidelity where he's talking about Green Day kind of borrowing from Stiff Little Fingers, that Belfast punk band. You're like, oh yeah, that is that kind of their style. You listen to it and you see, So I'm just saying, all ideas. So all creativity is kind of looking at what you like and trying to replicate it, or trying different things of things that you've seen. So a hack for being able to get away with doing things for free and doing more creativity, doing more creative things, is a little life hack for your brain. Is if you really enjoy doing it and you really like it and it really resonates with you, then you'll do it likely for free. And you'll get really excited about it. And you'll probably just look at it over and over again. You'd be happy to do it for free. You'd be happy to do a TikTok challenge where you do that one thing, or a different version of that one thing, 30 days on the trot. But it's very difficult to find that thing, whether it's you coming up with a font yourself, whether it's you coming up with weird sketches that you do, whether it's like Andy doing his, sketches about football commentary. It's very weird. It's very hard just to find your thing, and to find your thing, you just have to try a lot of things. But that's all part of it. That's all, that's the joy of it. It's like, I'm just trying that. Oh, I didn't really resonate with that, but I liked that element. I liked that workflow. I liked using Photoshop, but not for that, little animations, whatever it is. But like, it kind of, so look at the things that you like, try and do them across all them, across all the mediums. Maybe you like doodling. Maybe you'll actually just find doodling something that makes you really happy, Remember chatting to my buddy Nilo, he comes from fucking hardcore bands, metal bands, and then just like found rap and found that was the truest way that he could get his voice, his truth out to the world, He tried loads of things, And then he's like, no, actually just writing these lyrics and speaking them from the heart and finding the flow is his fucking truth. So I would try a load of different things and then see what you like. And then the little life hack is you'll probably do it for free if you love doing it. But I wouldn't hinge a lot on trying something for the first time and then trying to make a career out of it. Like, you see people making fucking t-shirts on TikTok and they're like, oh, we sold this brand. You know, that's probably not their first thing they've ever done. And then you try and do like a doodle and you're like, oh, I'll try selling t-shirts. It's okay to be like, I don't know, John, this is not for me, because there's 100,000 other things, you know? And you can know fairly soon, you know? If it's a bit challenging and you're like, I kind of like elements of this, but I don't like this, try and figure out whether it's like, no, I'm going to clock fucking... you only know that as you get older. You're like, I'm easily going to put like 3 hours into this and be no better for it, you know? This just is not the thing that resonates with me, you know? I've realized recently that my writing style is I can't sit alone and write, like type. I need to bounce ideas off people. And when I've been writing scripts, I've had to bounce ideas off people. And I can almost think of ideas if I have to make someone in the moment laugh, or I have to make someone in the moment kind of go, oh, that's interesting. But I could never come up with that off the top of my head, just sitting there staring at a blank piece of paper. I can't do that, you know. When I write podcast notes, I go for a walk and I talk to myself. So there's also different methods of trying to find stuff. And it's been like, actually, you know. But just give yourself a break. I don't even know if you asked this, but I love talking about the creative process, and I love acting as if I know what I'm talking about, because I desperately wanted to be a creative. Anyway, look, thank you very much for listening to this pod. Again, I was a late sponsor, but the sponsor of this podcast is the Dublin Irish Whiskey, the DLD.com, or in Duns. And thank you very much for listening to this. I mentioned a couple of podcasts on this that you can listen over on Patreon. If you like this podcast, if you listening to this podcast has provided you enough joy that you thought you wouldn't mind throwing me a couple of quid, you can do that and get more podcasts. It's a win-win for everyone. And over on Patreon, I have a podcast where I think I listed 32 things I wish I knew before I was 32, which is a comprehensive list. I think someone asked me a question about things you should know before 30. I also gave you my thoughts on Eurovision and the top 5 pop choruses of the last 15 years. I had another podcast of all the kind of great music finds that I had, retro tracks from crate digging that I'd done in 2021. My thoughts on Doctor Strange are over there. I did a whole podcast where I debunked riddles and how stupid they are. I sometimes just spin a wheel and pick a random topic and then talk about what animals I like to fight. So a lot of fun over there. If you want, over on Patreon, there's a link in the bio. But look, thank you very much for listening to this pod, my very best friend. And you believe you me, this podcast is going to get a hell of a lot crazier, a hell of a lot funner, because I got some big plans, baby. And I love you. Thanks for coming along with me. All the best. Bye-bye.